Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM22 Career Mode, episode number 8. We're into our second season. We won our very first race of the year. The next race on the calendar was one of those throwaway ones that really didn't matter, and it was the only thing for the first 2.5 months of the season that I saw as a good opportunity to utilize the holdovers, the leftovers from last year's team. We have 7. They took those 7 spots. So we kept them all active. But then meanwhile, at the same time, you had your Australian and New Zealand national championships as they fit a different part of the calendar. They're always in January or early February. And so Lawrence Pithy, I went ahead and did the individual time trial, looking at his ratings going, gosh, I think I can get him in the top 25, get us a little bit of bonus in the sponsor confidence by doing that. He had an objective for it and ended up drawing a -4 for the day. So he went from a +2 to a -2, 26th. 26th place. I was frustrated by missing out by literally a second from getting a top 25, and we easily would have had that top 25 if he even had a 0 on the race day condition. But then the road race. Now it's New Zealand. It's not Australia. It's New Zealand, meaning it's a little bit easier field to deal with for a decent sprinter who has a little bit of punch. And I also knew that if I managed it, it's everybody working against us, and it would have been really tough to come away with a result. So I took a chance on the quick sim, and Lawrence Pithy is the New Zealand national champion. This is going to be a huge boost to the sponsor confidence, which of course already got a huge boost by winning our first objective of the year. And there's still a lot of hard objectives to come that we are probably going to fail at. But a couple major successes very early on in this season might mean that it's not going to be such a tough year after all. We are going to need a couple more successes along the way, though, to make that be the case, especially if we're aiming for super success this year. Second objective of the year, we've of course had this tremendous start, but this is where things are going to start getting a lot tougher. Reason being, it's another top 10 objective, and it's reasonable in terms of the profile, as we're seeing a few guys attack. Not as worried about them, but what we're seeing is a much deeper field, where in our first objective you had a decent field. The competition was on a similar level to some of our best guys, and as a result we got the necessary result. But this time around, and not just the necessary result, the win. This time though, that feels very unlikely, and a top 10 is going to be a real stretch. We are nowhere near the top 10 favorites. Wow, Ponemer full on stop to go back to get water. Dang, down to 81 in the Peloton already. It is yo-yoing a lot though, so we could see groups get back on still. But it's good. We're well positioned in what's already starting to become a fairly intense race. But you have some very, very strong, some of the best climbers and punchers around in this field. Not the most elite punchers, but Egan Bernal is the favorite to win this race. Vlasov is here, and a very wide number of World Tour top members of teams. So it's going to be a tough day, really tough day. And just having somebody around towards the end is going to be a pretty big ask. Bernal, Pinot, Cosnefroy, that's going to alter this race here briefly. It's seeing the front group being labeled way behind us. We're seeing a couple guys attack as well. And I have a feeling that nobody's going to pick up the chasing right now, unless that Bora is, or those guys trying to attack. No, they are not attacking, but they are keeping up the pace. Okay, so pace is still lifting because Vlasov's team is taken to the front and working. This really changes things right now in this race. I have my entire team in a breakaway group of 40 riders. We've got to make sure that they continue to chase and that the gap up front does not grow. It's holding at 2 minutes right now. 50k to go. Back up to 90 riders, but the Peloton still has not gained contact, though they are close. Down to a minute 10 to the breakaway group. The hardest climb of the day is coming here momentarily, which means we need to prepare for that by upping our effort to about an 83. This group, while it came back together a bit, is actually starting to get smaller, so we are dropping riders due to the intensity. 79, just a minute now to the breakaway, so we've pulled back a minute and a half over the last 15 kilometers on them, and it's dropped some riders. And the Peloton, I'm assuming Bernal is, yes, still behind us, along with quite a few top riders, have not bridged that gap, though they are very close at just over a minute behind. Just about task done now, as we see a few riders attacking and going clear, but there's still a pretty hard chase. Vlasov is still here, so there's still a pronounced chase, so we're okay. Culverwell, the only one from the team that's been dropped. We are now a Peloton, which means Bernal is here, I'm guessing. Yes, Bernal, Vlasov, so they have made contact. Shockman. Really strong field, but you assume they're going to be towards the back end of the group trying to make their way up through it right now. Profile. Another very hard climb coming, and that's going to be kind of the decisive moment is this climb. So let's up that effort to make sure we're getting through this thing. Mikkels has already used his gel, so has Bogley. Ponamar, go ahead and protect your team leader, Frigo. Bora, still working, still chasing. 9 of the 12 breakaway riders have nearly been caught. And are caught, but the Bora is still pushing tempo. Down to just 4 off the front. And a couple riders pushing. Kevin Vermark on the break. Bogley and Mikkels have been dropped. Then Sevenin dropped. Knox, Fab Petters, Plankart getting dropped. And we still have 4 riders. That's saying a lot. That is a strong group that has been left behind over that climb. Just 5 left off the front. Now, Coop or Huggins? Oh, definitely Coop. So Huggins, go ahead and protect Coop. Ponamar, go ahead and gel up. We will switch Huggins to Frigo in the near future. 42 chasing 4. Another climb. We're going to have to up our effort probably after this one. We've caught the front. Bogley falls, but that's okay. He's not in our front group. Others are going down as well. Terrible weather today. Down to 35 contenders. Needing a top 10. Just a reminder on that part. Ponamar is still here, but he is out of energy. Huggins is starting to struggle. 14.8k. Okay, we need high effort now, as you're going to see big accelerations. Ineos back to the front. But you figure Bernal's going to have a hard time getting the win today after what's happened. Okay, acceleration on the descent. Ponamar dropped. Huggins switching to Frigo now. Coop is actually looking maybe a little bit of a better option for the top 10 potentially, as Frigo is pretty tired. 70 stamina, 75 resistance, 76 punchy. Coop is the better option. It's just Frigo is the better sprinter. And we'll see if we can get him to the end. We are really starting to struggle. Huggins, we're going to gel. Ponamar Pierre Latour has been dropped. Group getting smaller, 31, and you could definitely see there's a big group here at the back end, about 6 to 8 riders, really tired. I would attack if we had the energy, but we don't. Well, attack as in get a 3-man train and push tempo. For now, we want to hang on through the last of these climbs and set ourselves up for the sprint. Frigo's too tired. Frigo is too tired, so we ride for Coop. 7K to go. Down to 18 in the group. Like that 21. Down to 15 in the group. 12 riders. All we have to do is beat 3. Back up to 15 for the moment, but this is a very, very thinned out field.
There are just 5 kilometers left.
Profile for the remainder. One last climb. And then a little bump in the road as you head onto the finish. Coop. Gel. Here we go. Following somebody. We want to follow Bernal.
And they keep on attacking. Anyone that's low on gas definitely won't
Okay,
be able to
group
keep
didn't
up.
split. Group didn't
Falling
split. We're okay.
behind. Team leader is falling behind.
Frigo. Huggins getting dropped. Let's go ahead and eliminate Mertens as well. Frigo doesn't have any energy to contend. He's slow. Well, put him on auto. Coop. This is the final little bump in the road, and then you're on to the finish. 2K. He does not have enough energy to really try to attack here, though. So this is really about just hanging on and over the top, over the top. Now the sprint is on. Top 10 looks pretty dang good for Coop here. He's got it. He has got it. We've succeeded in getting a top 10. Covey, Bernal, Hunteray, and Coop gets 7th. Success. Tough one. Tough race, but we make it. Schachman misses the top 10. George Bennett misses the top 10. Van Wilder. Big names. Kamna, 17th. Much bigger names than anything we have in this field. Pino, 20th. Good result. Next objective, it's only half star, but intense day from the get-go. 3 teams dominate the list of favorites, and we're one of them, but we're on the back end of those 3 teams. So based on that info, you would hope that we can get a top 3 maybe. EF, though, heavy favorites. They've got 5 of the 10 riders on that top 10 list. We are looking pretty good, especially with the race day condition. Pithy, +5. Steininger, Frigo, they're okay. For Dyke has a +3 today. Mickles is the only one who really had a bad draw, and Noble not looking so good either. But the Peloton's down to 94. And the breakaway still has a small chance. There were 17 riders that got away in the first 2 kilometers of this race. I had nobody on the front end of the field, and they were gone before my first rider got to the front within 2K. And they've been pushing hard throughout because the group was too large. The Peloton's been pushing to chase that down. They got out to 3 minutes working together pretty hard when the field sat up for a minute. We sat up for a minute and they stretched that gap very, very fast, and then we went right back to riding hard. So the intensity of this race has left a lot of riders fatigued, especially our kind of guys that just aren't that, as we see a group of, I'm assuming, favorites. Yes, they are. Kukalair, Tagliani. You don't follow that, it's game over. So with 10K to go, it is time to sprint train this thing and try to reel those guys in. So Pithy's the main guy we're going to ride for. I think Frigo's the one we want to lead him out. We do. And then from there, Culverwell actually looks to be in the best condition, even though, you know, Verdijk and Steininger is probably better off. But based on the stats, I think you have to go with this. Noble is right up front, so we'll get Noble to start this thing. Mickles, yeah, not happening, but we'll try to get you on the back. Verdyke, gel. Steininger, gel. 97 for Noble. Put that pedal down and try to pull these guys back. He's got a decent flat rating, and he got us about a K. Now, there's one tiny little hill, and then going around this way. So we're going to come in this wind, not a factor. You have a right, a left, a right, and then the finish. And this is all 9K. So we're talking about, well, that's from where we are, Peloton right now. So that's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So fairly close. That's just over a kilometer out. I'd say probably 1.3, 1.4. That's probably at 2. Probably just over 3K out. So you do have a couple turns on the run in from the lead out riders, but you should have straight finish. Verdyke with a 69 rating. Of course, the main guy last year is going to be the workhorse now. The occasional domestique this year. This is that one of those other teams that's involved. Okay, Verdyke did pretty good. He got us down to 6K. He got us 3K on the front. And now we have 4 guys remaining. We could gel up for everyone now, as this is going to be a very fast run in. Steininger, this is 99 from here on out. Steininger, not a lot faster. Verdyke has nothing left, so we're not going to be able to break toe. We're catching those 5 now. Those 12 still not brought back in. But we've brought in the 5. Steininger's done. On to Culverwell. 4K to go. I'm not sure we're catching those 12. I am not sure we're catching those 12, but there is the sprint. 3K. There's the right. Here comes the left. We're going to have another left in a moment. And with 2.5, we're sprinting because we've got to try to catch those 12. We need a top 10, and it's not looking so good at this point. Technical, 2 turns come in, so we're going to account for that. In this run-up, Frigo getting the lead out over Prithee. There you go. We've got a chance. There's a back 2, 3, 4, 5 riders that Prithee are going to catch and get into the top 10. Prithee's going to get into the top 10. The breakaway is going to hang on and win, but Prithee is going to win the sprint, but only for 11th? Do the math on that one. 12 loses 4, leaving 8, and Prithee gets 11th. 2 lapped riders in the mix. There's your math. 2 lapped riders in the mix, because we pulled back all 5 that had broken away. Damn. We only got 11th. It's only a half-star objective, but frustrating to miss out on that one. And EF, the favorites, Kukelair gets 12th, so he was right behind Pithy. Alright folks, it is our first ever World Tour race. It is likely our only World Tour race of this year. At this point, it's the only one we've been invited to. All other requests so far have been denied. There's still a couple pending requests remaining for the year, but only a couple. And the chances of getting those at this stage are very, very, very slim. But let's see what we can do with this race. I actually think that there is a slight chance. It's a cobbled race. It's a Northern Classic, but it's not a major classic. It's a pretty minor classic, and there's not the strongest field you're going to go up against, though. Stefan Kung is here. Oliver Nassen is here. There's definitely some good riders that are going to be really difficult to beat. But this could very well come down to a sprint if you can survive the crosswinds, if you can survive the couple climbs, if you can survive the little bit of cobbled sectors that we're going to come up against. But I do have another objective going on right now at the same time. So some of our other riders are going to be there, some riders here, and we'll just see if we can't get a top 10 in a World Tour race, which would make the sponsors pretty dang happy if we could do that. That's my goal. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do it, but we'll see. We do have some very, very weak riders here, and not too many strong ones. Not too many. Mikkels, the best guy for the day, has a -4. None of these guys should have this kind of condition, by the way. Noble, let's go ahead and protect him. Noble, the hero from last year who got the win. Dugars. More riders trying to attack. Steininger is not looking good. Verdijk is looking better. We'll go ahead and protect Verdijk instead. Pithy, definitely the guy for the day. No doubt about it. What's his... Yeah, 69 cobble rating today. Capable sprinter, good stamina resistance. He's the main guy. So 159 in the field, 6 off the front. Still trying to establish themselves. And the first cobbled sector is already pending. Coming up here fairly soon. Speed it up till we get to Sector 2. Sector 2 is quite a bit longer. Before we get into it, we'll slow things down a little bit, make sure it's not a bad one. 2 stars. Let's up the effort slightly to hang on through here, as it's definitely longer. Yeah, we're struggling. We're dropping back ever so slightly, but we're fine. So far, so good. Though you can already see Martin. Martin and his wonderful ratings are really struggling already. A next sector coming up, a little bit shorter, still flat though. It's a nice thing about this race, and this is why this is one of the ones I put in for. Seeing that it's a weaker World Tour race, meaning they're not going to bring their best riders. We can afford to bring some of our better riders to this one. Just a 1 star, so no worries here. Wide road too. Easy does it. 132k. Good time to get water for the first time. Martin. How about Dugars? You're a little bit better than Martin. Let's go ahead and send him back to get the water. Martin's not going to last terribly long. Okay, I do worry about the next one a little bit. It's on a climb. It's right at the top though, so it's kind of as you go over. But we are going to have to up our effort through that part, even if it means some of the guys are going to suffer momentarily. Prepared for that now. Ready to go. We'll slow it down to a ×2 as we go through that, just to be sure. Remember, we still have a pretty weak team, so it doesn't take much. 3 star as well, Kemmelberg. And this is why we put that effort up. We don't want the... Ooh, and a fall at the time. I think I heard the name Tish Benut on that list among the favorites. Look how fast we are dropping back over this climb, though. Wow, look how fast that's happening. Garrison in particular going back really fast. Noble and Martin got straight dropped. Holy crap, Martin. Martin just lost 4.5 minutes going up that. 4.5 minutes. Goodbye. See you later. Looks like Noble's gonna get back in contact here momentarily. Martin will not be seen from again. Literally minimum rankings, almost 50s across the board, plus a -2 race day condition. The only rider off the back is Martin. 94k left. Just 2 cobbled sectors remain right before you hit the crosswinds. Things should be easy between now and then, though, and we'll need to get water as well just before we enter that. We don't want to wait until we're already in it. Verdijk. He's just not looking so good today. 77k, close enough. We don't want to risk getting into that cobbled sector without it. 70k or so on the water should be fine. They'll make it, especially with it being flat. Yeah, coming up on 70K now, so that's fine. Good timing there. Okay, two stars. We're still at an 82. That should be fine to get us through here. Very skinny roadway, so positioning is going to be important. But you can see outside of outside of Martin, everybody's in position at the front. One more coming up here in just a moment. Another 2-star sector. Okay, into the crosswinds, and this is why I think it's a sprint, because all you had to do was survive that, and we've survived all of that outside of Martin. Degarce, Noble have been used up to get us to this point, but we're going to have 4 guys remaining. We're going to have enough to have a lead out. We're going to have enough to have a sprint. And teams that are preparing for their Classics riders are going to try to attack late on. We've got just enough guys left to be in position to, with that sprint train, hopefully keep in contact, stay in place, make things happen. But Noble, you can see, about to get dropped. Slow down, lose that contact. There you go. Break that toe for everybody else. Don't let them get that freebie. 28 in the Peloton at the moment. It's going to come back together, though, it looks like. And it has, 154. Dyke now protecting Pithy. Steininger, the other one being protected, but he's got that -3. It's the difficult thing there for our lead out man. Dyke actually may have to be the lead out rider today. Let them both ride solo for a little bit, see how that goes. But I don't think Steininger is going to have enough in the tank. I think Dyke will. So I think we're going to have to rely on Dyke as the lead-out rider today instead of Steininger. 131, chasing 7. That's 1 breakaway rider. Decker, Classics kind of guy, going for it. As they're prone to do. The AI is kind of committed to that in this stage, to see those Classic riders go for the late breakaway. 75, chasing 6. As the field splits off a group. I don't think that group's coming back either. Especially with these crosswinds. What is the wind like today? The circuit kind of coming up on the finish line now. There's your 5K banner. Headwind. Headwind at the moment. Cut through. Crosswind. Cut back. Crosswind. You're going to come out of this for a moment as you come into the buildings. You end the crosswind right there, just over 1K from the finish line. And then you're going to get a big right-hander. Not a big right-hander. Not that intense of a right-hander. Kind of a double right-hander, though, on your way to the finish line. Okay, well, now we're ready for that. Mikkels has been dropped. Steininger, go ahead and protect Pithy. 22K to go. And we're pretty tired. 38 chasing 6. Resetting. We're going to hit this again one last time. 22K. We've caught the break. Down to 42 riders. Steininger, gel. Intense pace at the moment. Chances of a top 10 still exist, but it's getting harder and harder. Pithy, though, I think is going to hang on. Any sort of result here is good. 5 riders going clear. We need somebody else to chase that down. And a few riders do stay on it. We're not strong enough to be doing chasing today. 14K. Steininger. Too far back. Dyke, protect, Pithy, just a little more effort here. Dyke, gel, Steininger, see you later. 47, but there's definitely a group at the back that's struggling. I think we got a top 25 all locked up, but it's can we turn it into a top 10? 10K to go. Well positioned with 8K, but I've only got 1 lead out rider. He's got very little energy, so we can't push until very late. Dyke already on the gel. Pithy, 7.5K. Here comes the acceleration. I feel like we have to respond right now, but this is problematic because we can't go full gas. So for Dyke, what's an 89 gonna do? Because there's your group going away and sitting up. 6.5K. Gel.
Oh my, the guys up front aren't going to be making too many friends
Under
today.
6K for Dyke. Easy, but just get out front, get out front. Gentle on the lead out.
There are just
We're in
5
that
miles
crosswind still for Dyke out front. And here we go. Next movement. Pithy's on his own from now on. So just be well positioned, save some energy. 3.7. Push a little harder because we know as soon as you hit you get out of the crosswinds here in a moment. For Dyke, just give a little protection. It'll save a little energy. There you go. He's in the best position entering. He just doesn't have a lead out here. 2K. Okay, he's used a little bit of red bar, but you can see how well positioned he is as he goes into the final kilometer. This is going to give Pithy a chance. Get rid of that. It's going to give him a chance for that top 10. He's out of red bar. He's going to fade. That's a lot of sprinters still moving on. And he's squeezed into the wall here, which is going to cause us to be beat by one more. Mezgec takes 10th as we got squeezed into the wall by Welton. So we just got screwed out of a top 10 by Bram Welton. Welton squeezes us into the wall, and Mezgec then takes advantage and is able to beat us to 10th place. We had 10th place. We had 10th place if Welton does not squeeze us into the wall. 11th. Wow. Back-to-back 11th places, by the way. Different type of things not working out, where one was a breakaway, where it looked like we had it, right? Because there was 12 riders ahead of us, and then we beat 4. But it turns out a couple of those were lapped riders. So there was, secretly, it was 14. We just didn't know it. And so we only got 11th. This time around, a strong field and no lead out. So Pithy had to use a little of his own red bar to be to the front, to be in contention. If he had a lead out, even just a little one, that red bar goes that little bit further. He's in the right position. He has enough to not fade in that last 130 meters. If he doesn't fade, he easily gets that top 10. He's not winning that race. He's not getting a top 5, but he would have had that top 10. Would have. No lead out because nobody else had enough left. And that's being in a World Tour race. We do get an 11th place, which is good. It is good for a second-year team, for a team that a year ago was a bunch of 50s for ratings. I feel like more could have been possible, but Pithy had no proper support. For Dyke was the closest thing to a lead-out we had. You know, the guy who was barely into the 60s, low 60s a year ago, was the closest thing we had to a lead-out, and he finished 44th. Seininger finished 42nd. Just the help wasn't there when we needed it. But if Welton doesn't squeeze us into the wall, we would have succeeded in pulling off a top 10. So be it. It's okay. It is okay. That is going to do it for this episode, though. There's Martin, 25 minutes behind everybody else, and I don't think he is done yet, is he? No, he did finish, 164th. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Like, comment, subscribe. See you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.